So thank you for being here, everyone, to our non-dual meditation class. And my name is Mira. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist and psychedelic guide. And my practice is called Unjourneying. And we've been, this is a pretty newly started class. And we've been going through a sequence with a focus on non-duality and relaxing into non-duality in different ways. And so, we'll be continuing that sequence. And so today we'll start with some relaxation, and then we'll transition into this non-dual exploration. A little bit of a twist on what we've done before. In a nutshell, we've been kind of doing this like floating in space thing of like letting go of the furniture in the room and stuff like that into the spaciousness. And we're going to have a little plot twist. We're going to replace the space with water, an ocean, you could say, and see what that opens up for us. And then I usually give just a little tiny talk of sorts, just some reflections briefly on the meditation, and then I'll open it up for the Q&A. And let's see. I'm trying to remind myself to issue a very brief disclaimer at the start of each of these, which is that meditation is not entirely innocuous. So, people can be triggered by it. You can experience various forms of disorientation or nervous system activation, dissociation, things like that. So please take care of yourself. And if for any reason, whether you're here or whether you're watching this on YouTube later on, if you feel like this meditation is somehow activating you or triggering you in some way that's overwhelming, feel free to turn it off. Feel free to leave. Feel free to take care of yourself and ground and seek support in whatever way that you need. And also know that if you're doing the meditation and you, it's not like working for you, you don't have to do it. You can, if there's something that's really distracting you, like some really intense pain or something like that, feel free to focus on the pain instead. That can be its own kind of meditation, a way of working with pain. So I just want to give you the permission to do your own thing. You don't have to follow my instructions, and just take care of yourself. So you don't have to white knuckle it through this if it's not helpful for you. All right. So all that said, why don't we go ahead and close our eyes and starting some attunement to posture. So you want to be, in whatever posture you're in, having some kind of attention to your spinal alignment. So usually there's some kind of sense of elevating, the spine a bit. So you're like sitting up a little straighter, as if there's a string on your head and someone's just tugging it a little bit. And this kind of alignment helps stay awake and stay alert for the meditation, so we can be present and notice and not just fall asleep. And then we also want to relax, because we don't want to be too tense. It's kind of like a guitar string. You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. So with this posture, we maintain alertness and also wanting to really settle into ease and relaxation. And in particular with this meditation, I want to invite us into stillness of the body. Stillness tends to really, really help with these non-dual exercises, because when your body is really, really still, your mind kind of forgets what it looks like and how big it is and the boundary of it and stuff like that. It kind of doesn't work with it so much. And so it's easier to let your body just kind of melt or dissolve when you're not reinforcing the boundary by fidgeting and shifting and stuff like that. So the more still you can be, the better. Of course, I said earlier, take care of yourself. If you have some horrible pain or something like that, need to shift, that's totally fine. But the more still you can be, the better, I find. And so let's work on that stillness progressively. So just starting with your feet and just letting them settle into stillness. It can help to imagine yourself as like a statue, like a living statue, and just letting each part of your body as we go up become still and heavy, you could say. Not in a burdensome way, but heavy in the sense of just dropping any kind of effort and just settling deeper into stillness. So letting your feet become statue-like and your legs still as a statue. And moving attention upwards into your hips. And just feeling things get heavier and settle. It may almost feel as if you're sinking deeper into your chair or whatever cushion you may be on. And continuing this progression upward into your core. So just seeing what muscle groups you can relax and bring into deeper stillness. The shoulders may be a particular focus for many people, they are, and that usually involves just dropping them down. Often our shoulders are way too high and hunched. So see if you can drop your shoulders down lower, 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 a little bit back. And that really helps relax your shoulders and open up your chest for better breathing. And speaking of breathing and tuning into your core here, we really want to bring the breath down into your belly. So as I'm saying that you're still as a statue, of course, the part of you that's moving the most is going to be where you're breathing. And in this case, we're bringing the breath down into this diaphragmatic or belly breathing. So breathing in this way, your chest is actually quite still. So when you breathe, it shouldn't be that your sternum and your shoulders and your upper body is expanding. It's really happening down lower. So your lower rib cage is going to be flexing a bit up and kind of out on either side. And essentially, it's going to feel like your belly is inflating like a balloon. The chest is quite still. Your back is still. And pretty much everything's very still, except the part of you that's moving the most is this inflationary kind of feeling of the breath coming in, the belly filling up like a balloon, and deflating on the out breath. And as you continue to breathe in this slow, deep way, you can continue to cultivate this statue-like stillness in your arms and hands. So however your hands are resting, maybe they're in your lap or at your sides, let them just be heavy and still, almost like you're turning them off. It's almost like they become inanimate, like the stone of a statue. They're not doing anything. They're just inert. They're just totally still. And yeah, continuing up into your neck and relaxing your neck and all the parts of your face, inviting again into the statue-like stillness. Relaxing your jaw and all the muscles of your cheeks, your eyes, your forehead. And sitting here like a statue, very still, belly breathing, you may notice dropping into this kind of groove of stillness where it feels like any desire or need to fidget has passed. Like you're kind of over the hump of fidgetiness and you've just settled into this blissful statue-like stillness. They're just kind of peacefully frozen in place. And it feels good not to move. It feels like there's no need to or desire to. Stillness feels complete. And it's totally okay if you don't feel that. It's just something you may notice, and that can be helpful. And there can be a certain pleasure in that stillness that you may feel in your hands. Your hands may feel warm, for example, and kind of soft and pleasant just in their stillness. Letting each breath sink you a little deeper into relaxation. Okay, good. So now, with this base of relaxation, we're going to return to exploring non duality, non dual ways of receiving your senses, and returning to this sense of the spaciousness of awareness. And so we'll build on some things we've done previously, and it's okay if you haven't done them before, because I'll be repeating some of the instructions. First, starting with your feet and just noticing, in particular, the bottoms of your feet and how they feel and all the contact points. That is, if your feet are resting on the floor. If they're not, just notice, anywhere on your body where you're feeling the pressure of gravity. So sitting like a statue, and in particular, just focusing on where that statue is contacting the floor or the chair, those pressure points. And then we inquire beneath those sensations. What is there beneath these feelings of pressure on your feet? What is there that is a sensation? in your body, in your nervous system, that you can feel. And if your mind comes up with some image of the floor or the rest of the building you're in underneath, notice how that's not a body sensation. It's a kind of memory trace, an assumption of what's there. And see what it's like to invite that image to just relax, to fall away, coming more directly into real-time body sensation. And letting the maps and images of your surroundings fall away. And you may notice in this inquiry pointing downwards that when you look for body sensations beneath your feet, you'll simply not find them. If that's what we're focusing on here, you may just notice nothing beneath your feet. And that may feel like emptiness or spaciousness. For some people, the subtractive approach is helpful. It's like you just notice the image of the floor and you just subtract it. For others, something more positive or imaginative is helpful. So you could replace the feeling of the floor, the feeling of the building structure underneath you with air, with space, as if you're just floating. And then, as we've done before, you can start to repeat this process in any direction. You can extend that arrow of inquiry above you, asking, okay, what's above my head that is a body sensation? Maybe your mind generates the ceiling. And again, can you notice that as a kind of wispy image or memory? Recognizing your head is not pressed against the ceiling. And so, ceiling cannot be a body sensation. So, letting go of the ceiling, again, there may be space opening there. And you can also just imagine space if that's a helpful tool to help your mind let go of its assumptions. And so, little by little, we're just getting more and more in touch with the primacy of sensations in your body. And for this exercise, we're giving less attention to the formations of your mind that are architectural or furniture, your surroundings, the memories, the maps. We are allowing those to soften or disappear. And so far, we've used this idiom of space. But it's just another image, another concept. Because who can say what awareness or consciousness really is or how it feels? These are just different tools, different idioms. So we can also use a different one. In this case, we're going to use the ocean. So replacing space with water. So what I mean by that is, imagine that all the space around you is gradually filling up with water. And in case that feels somewhat alarming, you can imagine this is warm water, almost like getting into a hot tub. So it's safe, it's comforting. You can breathe under this water, so it has a kind of magical quality to it. So we're not drowning ourselves here. It's almost like going back into the womb. There's a feeling here of being held and cared for by this water. And yeah, imagine this water just slowly dissolving everything around you, as if it was all just made of salt, and just dissolving into this ocean that's coming in. This warm ocean water is dissolving any traces that may still be there of the floor, the building you're in, the ceiling, the walls, the furniture. Some things can be hard for your mind to let go of, especially if you're directly touching them, like the chair you're in. That can be stubborn. Like your mind wants to keep visualizing the chair because there's a feeling of, well, I'm sitting in it, so it must be there. And see what it's like to just play around with even letting go of that assumption. And to do this, we have to really go deep and let go of our sense of physics and up and down and things like that. Because when you're sitting in a chair, you feel that normal force pushing back. And so all of our training around physics and stuff, there's a sense of, well, there has to be gravity, there has to be the chair, something supporting me. I know it's there. All these structures in the mind. So the challenge there is to just temporarily let yourself be almost like a baby, not really knowing about gravity or normal forces or physics or chairs. Becoming very, in a way, innocent, naive, just, there are these funny sensations on my butt and on my feet that feel kind of tingly, kind of pressury sensations. I don't know why they're there. Who knows? So this is again how we keep simplifying the mind, dropping assumptions, maps, models, and just coming more and more into this mysterious simplicity of body sensations. And in this way, perhaps you can invite this ocean water to dissolve even the chair you're sitting in, even that little patch of floor under your feet. And where this may lead to is, it's okay if it doesn't, whatever your experience is fine, but there might be just some sense of floating. Before we were floating in space, and now it's like we're floating in water. Consciousness is neither space nor water. These are just visuals we're just playing around with. But there may be some feeling we've dropped into here, almost like getting into the hot tub of your own mind. Just your body, all the feelings there, maybe your heartbeats, pressure, temperature, the textures of your breath, and everything else just water. This ocean holding you, supporting you on all sides. And allowing you just to float. Giving your mind a break from having to solve any problem, make any maps, figure out what's going on, explain anything. Relaxing all of those habits and just being, just floating here. Just like a baby floating in the womb. Okay. Good. So at this stage, I'll invite you to slowly open your eyes. If you want to start moving, you can. You can start to shift out of your statue-like pose. And meditation transitions are important, I think, because so often the meditation can stay on the cushion and then it gets compartmentalized. Right? And then, okay, now I'm going into a Zoom meeting with somebody, or I'm, going to go do some dishes or whatever. And all of the hard-edged models and maps of the mind can kind of pop back into place. And in terms of integration of this kind of practice, the invitation here is, even as we're sitting here with eyes open, and we'll do exercises with eyes open at some point. And even as we're speaking, what contact do you have still with that oceanic kind of dissolution? Can you still find it here? And it's almost more of a minimalist, from an energy sense, flow with consciousness, where your mind is just making just what it needs to, right? Where it's like, okay, I need to see you guys, right? So it's good that my mind is showing me your faces and so forth in the computer. And like I'm just right now, I'm just tuning into, okay, what about the floor and everything underneath me? And it doesn't really need to be there, and it cannot not be there. It can just kind of be dropping away, and there's just some sense of nothingness. And the whole ocean thing, these are kind of arbitrary in a way. I mean, people talk about consciousness in all sorts of ways because it's kind of impossible. It's very challenging. I say not impossible, but challenging to describe what is consciousness. How does it feel? What's the flavor of consciousness? And yeah, for a lot of people, because it often feels very boundaried, when those boundaries falling away, excuse me. Yeah, it can feel very spacious. That's often a metaphor people talk about, and these are very classical metaphors you find in different traditions. In Buddhism, we talk about mind like space and stuff like that, and also ocean is another classical metaphor that's often used as well. So, or the mind is like the sky, right? So, is the mind inherently like any of these things? Are those the true nature of mind? I would say, who knows? Like, who can say what the true nature of mind is? But they're interesting lenses, to work with. Like, okay, what's it like to bring in the lens of space or the lens of water, like ocean? And they're just tools, as I see them, to kind of cast a different perspective on your contact with consciousness and just kind of how it feels. And yeah, you might find them useful at a certain point in time. And then at a certain point, you can also drop them. And that's something we'll do eventually as well, like using the sort of consciousness idiom, or visualization. And that can be helpful to dissolve things. I mean, space can kind of break up things, right? And kind of vaporize things. If you imagine things as space, it's like, okay, stuff's vaporizing. So you can vaporize the walls. Or you can imagine liquid. Liquid is dissolving things, right? And what's interesting, and just as a final note before I open up the Q&A, is when I work with people with this medicine 5-MeO DMT, which is often very helpful at spontaneously inducing these kind of non-dual insights. These are the kind of things that people report, without prompting or scripting. It's people will say things like, I feel like I'm becoming a cloud, So that's kind of like they're becoming space. They're like vaporizing. Or at other times people will say, gosh, I feel like I'm just like a ice cube just melting into the universe or something like that. So that's really interesting, seeing how just some sense of boundaries that the mind is creating, the mind softening those. Intuitively, for people, there's some feeling there that the mind wants to storify or narrate into something that's like a phase of matter kind of change, right? From solid to liquid, or liquid to gas, or solid to gas, sublimation, vaporization. It's very interesting, and yeah, just helpful kind of ways of working with awareness. So anyway, I'm going to open up the floor now to anyone who wants to ask a question, and let me do my host tools stuff here. So if people want to use the chat and unmute themselves, okay, you can do that now. So anybody have any questions or reports? It doesn't have to be a question. It's something you want to share from meditation, troubleshooting, anything.
I have a question.
Yeah, Sabrina. What's your question?
So something that I will fairly often run into doing, specifically these sort of non-dual practices, is becoming quite sleepy. And I know that this is super common. And so it's a thing that I've, tried a lot of different pieces around of, like, keeping my eyes open, standing up. But I've also, been told that sometimes, when you start to kind of dissolve all of these pieces and the ego, there can be sort of like a resistance that shows up that actually tries to just, shut down your kind of consciousness or being aware. And so I was just curious if you have any thoughts about kind of how to work with that.
Yeah, great question, and such a common issue, and it's one that I can certainly relate to as well. That used to be a problem in my practice for a long time. It was very sleepy and kind of muddy. And yeah, I feel like over, I don't know, how long have I been meditating now? Like 20 something years. Like it's mostly not there, but every once in a while, if I have a poor night of sleep because my cat, I have this really old cat who meows in the middle of the night or something, and then I'm doing my morning meditation. It's like, yeah, sometimes there's still sleepiness there, so it's just human, right? Like sometimes that's just how your body is at that moment, and that's something else to notice, and it's okay. Um, but to get to your point, like when it's becoming persistently, a problem or kind of a distraction, or it feels like it's keeping you from really doing the meditation in some kind of more fruitful way. Yeah, there are different strategies, and you may have tried a lot of these, so forgive me if I'm repeating things that are obvious. A lot of these things are very, very conventional sort of alertness type things, right? But they actually do work, where everything from green tea to doing a little bit of exercise, maybe before you meditate. So you have your sympathetic nervous system has been keyed up a little bit. Your heart rate's up a little bit, so you have greater alertness. Things like cold showers or putting cold water in your face can apparently like increase your dopamine levels like temporarily for some kind of window, and that can like increase focus or alertness. I find for me, I haven't had to do this in a while, fortunately, but I know I got a lot of mileage out of holding my breath. This is kind of an interesting technique that I haven't heard people talk about too much in the meditation community, but I just kind of experimented with it, and it's very helpful for me. It's like if I'm feeling very, very sleepy, if I just take a deep breath and just hold it for as long as I possibly can. And then what you'll find is when you exhale, there's kind of this like, flood of, it feels like, I don't know exactly what endorphins or what sort of, the neurochemistry is going on there, but there's some kind of great burst of like alertness, that can last for, like many, many minutes, maybe like 10 minutes or something like that. And then if you feel like you're dipping back down into torpor again, you can try holding your breath again. So that's, if you're in the middle of meditation and you're struggling, the breath holding thing really works, I find for me. And yeah, what else? Yeah, like you said, open your eyes, doing walking meditation, things like that. In terms of there was a more, I think, a very interesting and subtle question, second part to your question, which was, I guess, the idea of sleepiness as a kind of psychological resistance. And I think that's really interesting. Anytime that, yeah, I think it's true that anytime we are letting go into these more deconstructed kind of states, it can be very threatening to the nervous system, because the nervous system is used to having all these walls and armor and orientation up. And so when we're shutting things down and coming into these more minimal conscious states, I mean, we're at this stage, we're not kind of, but it's like the deeper you go, you can really, really deconstruct consciousness, right? At some point, consciousness can like completely drop out, and then come back. They call that like a cessation. And yeah, like on the road to those deeper states, at any stage, the nervous system can start to push back, and sometimes that can be, I would say, a more sympathetic nervous system response, which means like you're getting more activated, so people can kind of start to freak out, and your heart can start to race, and you can feel buzzy energy and stuff like that. Or it could be a parasympathetic response where it's almost more dissociative. I'm getting spacey. I'm getting sleepy and stuff like that. And I think that if that is part of what's happening, I think that the best way to approach that is to do it in the right doses, because if there's that means that there's something about the meditation that feels a little too threatening to your nervous system, and so it's needing to check out. And so in that case, you might try just like almost, I'm gonna think of the analogy here of like high intensity interval training, like in athletics, where you do like a more intense exercise for a short period of time, then take a break. So maybe actually meditating for shorter periods of time, where it's like, okay, let me do this non-dual meditation for just like 5 minutes and see if I can maintain alertness and do a little bit of this kind of letting go practice, and see if I can, feel whatever discomfort there is there, but actually stay alert through it. And then maybe do like a little bit more, and you could like lengthen the time. That might be helpful. I find that anything that's threatening, I mean, this is my training as a trauma focused psychotherapist with progressive kind of desensitization practices. And it just feels like having the right dose and titrating the dose with your learning zone and uncomfortable phenomena is sort of the best way to work with your nervous system. So yeah, that would be my advice. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, good. So yeah, well, I just want to say in closing, thank you to y'all for being here. I really appreciate your presence and your support. And yeah, just a few announcements I like to say at the end of these, especially for folks who haven't attended the live sessions and are watching on YouTube, is just that yeah, if you're watching this and you find it valuable and you're enjoying it, it would really help me out to give me a like and subscribe. As I've said before, I'm trying to push my channel above a certain level so that I can remove ads, because it really it bugs me that a meditation channel has compulsory ads on it. That's YouTube's default policy. So I have to get to a certain level to remove those, which I intend to do. So that would help me out. And what else? Yeah, if you are interested in my work in general and just want to learn more about me, you can go to my website. It's unjourneying.com. And I have lots of different offerings, including psychedelic retreats and coaching. And yeah, I'm also the host now of a community through Patreon. So that's been a lot of fun as well, to create more opportunities for community and connection. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want other people to talk to about this stuff, I know sometimes a lot of people tell me, I don't have anybody in my life to talk to about meditation and psychedelics and stuff like that. Well, perhaps you do, if you want to join our community. And there's lots of different levels there in terms of affordability to accessibility, everything from, just a text chat up through a more intimate Zoom group that meets once a month, and other different opportunities along the way. So check it out. That is, well, you can find it on my website, but if you want to go directly there, it's unjourneying.com/Patreon. You can see all the options. And yeah, that's it. So thanks, everyone. And we were doing this weekly, at least for the time being. I've moved it to just every other week because I have a lot of other training related things I'm doing right now. And this just gives me a little more space to kind of, keep all the plates spinning. So that'll be our schedule going forward for the time being. And yeah, maybe at some point it'll shift back. But so hopefully see you guys in a couple weeks. And thanks again. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.